Hello class, good day. So today we're going to have a brief lecture on certain administrative order from the Department of Health regarding the national standard on the design, construction, operation, and maintenance of septic tank systems. Because I think that even though they already have a national plumbing code, there are still a lot of things to improve when it comes to sanitation. So after this, we're going to review a bit on some of our past lectures, and we're going to discuss also your plate activity for this subject. So I hope that you're all doing fine and are safe because of the rising number of COVID cases in the city. Okay, so let me read the rationale. So the national government, through the Department of Health, is taking a big leap to make sanitation programs effective and sustainable to protect the environment and public health. In the past decades, sanitation has not been prioritized. The misconception that sanitation is just a human excreta disposal and management limits the department into the distribution of public bowls as the primary strategy in addressing sanitation related diseases and environmental related problems. So, in compliance with Sustainable Development Goal number 6, which is to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all, which is a basic sanitation facility, a toilet facility with a standard size of a septic tank in every household is deemed necessary in preparation for the advanced sanitation facilities to achieve the safely managed sanitation services. So at present, poorly designed septic tank and the lack of basic sanitation facilities and on-site sewer treatment makes the domestic sewage as the highest contributor to environmental pollution and impact negatively on public health. So, the occurrence of diarrheal outbreaks from different regions of the country and other environmental sanitation related diseases manifest the real situation of the environment wherein the communities are exposed to. So, pursuant to the roles and responsibilities of the UH as provided in Section 72, Chapter 17 of PD number 856, otherwise known as the Code on Sanitation of the Philippines, the department's scopes of supervision shall include plans, design, data, and specifications of a new or existing sewage system or sewage treatment plant, and method of disposal of sludge from septic tanks or other treatment plants. So the objectives are to set a national standard on the design, construction, installation, operation, and maintenance of a septic tank as the major component of basic sanitation facilities and other alternative sanitation technology design. Then for the scope and coverage, so the national standard on the design and construction of septic tank shall apply to all public and private sewage collection system project planned by any government agency or instrumentality including government-owned and controlled corporations, private organizations, firms, individuals, or other entities. So this standard details the technical aspects, set out requirements, and guides all sanitation practitioners and designers for the approval of the design. So further, it applies to all aspects of planning, construction, operation, maintenance, rehabilitation, replacement, inspection, and modification of on-site sanitation facilities for existing and proposed establishments or residential building or institution. So I think last for the definition of terms, most of this is already discussed in our previous lectures. So, but I think okay, so let's discuss alternative sanitation technology. I think this should be good. So an on-site treatment system that includes components different from those used in a conventional septic tank and leaching field system. So So far, class, what we have been discussing in our lectures are what you call the conventional septic tank and some of the basics. So, but there are also alternative sanitation technology. So, an alternative system is used to achieve acceptable treatment and dispersal or discharge of wastewater where conventional on-site systems may not be capable of meeting established performance requirements to protect public health and water resources. For example, sites where high groundwater, low permeability soils, shallow soils, or other conditions that limit the infiltration and dispersal of wastewater, or where additional treatment is needed to protect groundwater or surface water quality. So I won't discuss some of the terms because I think it's already covered during the midterms. Okay, now let's go to the uh, general guidelines. So the DOH shall prescribe standards and criteria for the design, construction, installation, operation, and maintenance of septic tank systems aligned with Chapter 17 of the Code of Sanitation of the Philippines. So a manual of operation shall be issued for additional technical instructions and implementing mechanisms. So for the specific guidelines, so the national standard for the design, construction, installation, operation, and maintenance of septic tank systems shall consist of the following criteria. So for design consideration computation, the first is that the minimum daily inflow or hydraulic loads of 50 gallons per person per day. Then a daily inflow based on not less than 10 persons for a cluster of households less than 100 occupants, a septic tank is still acceptable. For more than 100 persons, an advanced sewage treatment system shall be applied. So for example, class, if you have an apartment building or complex and then there's less than 100 occupants, so a septic tank could be acceptable. But if you're already designing a building which is more than 100, so you would require an advanced sewage treatment system. Then for this, you will need some consultants. You may need your sanitation or sanitary engineer for this one and other experts in the field. Then you have a minimum effective liquid depth of the tank shall be 1.20 meters and additional freeboard of not less than 0.30. Then a minimum detention time of 24 hours. A minimum of two chambers so that the effective capacity of the first chamber is twice that of the second chamber. So what's the meaning of this? Okay, so if you have two chambers, the second chamber should be at least two times. But here, class, in our practice, even in residential here in Cagayan de Oro, I think we already are doing the three chamber system. So we're safe for this. Okay, then must be rectangular in shape, structurally sound and watertight. Okay. Then this is something, class, that you must pay attention because I think a lot of contractors and even some professionals neglect uh, the structural component in building the septic tank because it must be strong. For me, your septic tank should be part of the consideration of the structural design. Okay, so don't just follow what's in the uh, standards, the drafting standards. You must consult this also with your structural engineer. Okay, then inlet and outlet connections shall be sanitary tees or baffles constructed of precast concrete or PVC. Then connections for the inlet, outlet, and inspection openings are integrally cast for concrete constructed septic tanks. For plastic type materials, the connection shall be mechanically and or chemically sealed or bonded in order to make it watertight and have the strength equal to that of the parent material. Dislodging frequency shall be once in every 3 to 5 years, and the septic tank size and volume determination shall be based on the scientific formula shown in Annex A. So we have an Annex A here. Um, I think our time is not enough for me to show you everything, so I'm just going to upload our this document in our group page. Then let's look at the construction and installation, because this is also important. So all tanks shall be placed on a level grade and at a depth that provides adequate gravity flow from the source. It should not be located at large difference in elevation to avoid facilitation of periodic pumping. Then, where adequate flow from the source is maintained through pumping equipment, the impact of pumping rates and potential surge flows shall be evaluated so as to maintain the treatment efficacy of the septic tank unit. Then the location of septic tank shall be in an accessible area for the easement of dislodging activities. Then septic tank shall be installed under the building, park, or driveways. Shall not be installed, okay, under the building, park, or driveways unless special provisions have been made, such as structurally sound designs that can withstand heavy loads. I think that this is a common mistake also by contractors, wherein the place the septic tank below the driveway. So, like what I've said earlier, if you just follow some of the standards that have been circulating without validating with the structural engineer, then if a moving load were passing at the top of the septic tank, then there's a probability that it might collapse. Okay? So if you're going to design a septic tank, then you don't have a choice that you have to place it under the building or parking, then you have to consult your structural engineer to make sure that it's strong enough to withstand moving loads. Okay? So when you reach your no no theory of structures, specifically about steel and concrete design, I think it's going to be discussed to you how to compute it. Okay? Because in architecture, we also have a background on structural analysis so that we can understand our structural consultants also. So septic tanks shall not be located in areas with high water table to avoid flotation of the tank, and in areas where there is steep soil slope or prone to soil erosion or landslides. Okay? So I think as an architect class, this is where your expertise comes in. So you must really study the site where your building is going to be constructed. Okay. Then let's stop here at installation. Then the excavation shall be large enough to allow safe, unencumbered working conditions, but in no case shall be the size of the excavation less than 60.60 meters beyond the perimeter of the tank. The tank shall be placed on a firm, dry, granular, undisturbed soil that has been graded level. Gravel bedding shall be used as damp or fine-grade soils. Backfill material shall be placed and compacted, extending a minimum of 0.60 meters beyond the perimeter of the tank. All tanks shall be tested to ensure watertight conditions and to check alignment and operation of inlet, intercompartment, and outlet connections prior to backfill. So when tested, tanks shall be filled to overflow with water to the observed operation of all connections and fittings. So all visible leaks in the tank observed by the installer shall be repaired prior to backfilling. Okay, so I think we're done with this one. This is really important, class. Because imagine, class, we are already, even though the Philippines is not a developed nation, we are already on the stage wherein I think most of us have access to basic sanitation uh, facilities. But even with that, there are still problems. Okay? So I think that's the reason why this administrative order came. Because you must not be just compliant with the existing systems, you must really solve the problem uh, in relation to what's happening in our society. So let's move on to our lecture. By the way, class, I'll be uploading this in our group chat. So read this because our final exam will be related to the administrative order. Okay. Okay, class. So let's look at P8. This is the water line isometric diagram. So this is what I'll be requiring you to submit in uh, week 8. So I told you that I'm going to reduce some of our requirements. Basically, since this is a pandemic, then some of you are having financial difficulties as well. So your submission, your last submission will be P8. But supposedly, uh, we need to submit P9 up to P11. Okay. So, but if you've already did P9, P11, I'll still accept it. Then I'm going to add it as your bonus points for my subject. Okay. But just to help out with your classmates who are really having hardships, this time I'll just require you to submit P8, which is the waterline isometric diagram for our final activity for this course. Okay, so if you look at this class, I think the doing the water line is much easier compared to doing your plumbing. Well, that's for me because it's just going through the straight lines. Okay. The only hard thing to do for the water line isometric is that you have to do it manually. So if you do this in AutoCAD class, there's a command to make it a lot easier. But if you're going to draw this manually, then you'll have to be meticulous and patient. Okay? So, but mind you, class, in if you want to become architects, you have to be develop patience and be meticulous when you draw your plans. Because the plans that you draw, they are not just drawings. They are instructions to the site and they are part of the contract documents of the project, which are legal documents as well. Okay? So this is our P8. So I think you're already familiar with this one. So I'm going to upload this also. Then I'll just show you something. I think I got this model from 3D Warehouse. Okay, so I'm doing my dissertation and I'm doing a concept paper for my dissertation. It's about spatial intelligence. And it says that students can learn easier if they can see what they're doing in 3 dimensions. Okay. So if you can see, class, these are the pipes. So if this is your sink, you have here your P-trap. Okay. This is how it works. Okay. Then here you can imagine there's a water seal so that the odor coming from here will not pass through and you'll not be able to smell it. Okay. So it goes up. So this should be your vent. Should be your main vent stack. Okay. This should be how this is a P trap for your floor drain. So if you have time, class, I suggest that you start learning SketchUp because it's a really great software. It really do um, could really understand the spaces of a building in 3 dimensions when you start learning the software. Okay. Then it would also help out that when you design your plumbing, especially when you use uh, computers, that you draw it in detail. so that when you implement it at the site, you could trace it easier. Okay? And it would be easier for your workers to understand what you want to happen. Okay, so look at this class. This is your water line, the blue one here. Okay, so it's just really simple. For me, what the water line system is the easiest to draw when you do your plumbing. Okay, but what's tricky class is in the actual implementation and checking. Okay, so I think we have covered most of the important stuff in plumbing except for the detailed computations, which I think you'll be having a hard time uh, understanding when we are not since we are not in face-to-face setup. But I urge you class to uh, even beyond the subject to keep on reading about new technologies, new materials in plumbing systems, so that you could use them not only for the board exam but also when you practice someday as architects. Remember, class, that architecture is not about drawing. Okay? What we do here is we design, and then for in order for you to become effective designers, you must have a grasp and understanding of the different systems and components of your structure or building. So you have your plumbing system, that is one. You also have your electrical system also. You also have your electromechanical systems. So when you combine all of those together, that's when you produce an architectural design. Okay? So that's the technical aspect. So I hope class that you are all doing fine. Um, since the figures are rising up for our city, stay safe, follow government protocols and procedures. Then always, what you call this, keep a um, an alcohol with you. Spray it at your hand, etc. Then make sure that you sanitize your things when you go out. If you have any further questions or clarifications, you can reach me anytime. And if you have concerns with our deadlines, feel free to reach me also. Okay? Because the truth is, last, I don't like to see feeling students. I try my best to help. Okay? But you must also help yourselves. So I'll be posting your activity for the week in our group page, and at the same time, I will also give you what's our activity for the final exam. Okay, so stay safe and see you next semester class. Okay? Hopefully you submit everything to me.